Galactic Standard Date. Year 11356. Day 96. Sol Standard Date. 4th of the 8th, 3267. Silvan took in the sight of purity as he hung in the low orbit of the world. The smoke and fires finally subsiding, but cities were still destroyed heavily enough to be visible from orbit. The burned out husks of cities he was supposed to protect haunted him, but what really hurt was that he felt relief. Relief that his family made it out unscathed, even when so many billion others did not. With that thought fresh in his mind, he turned away from purity. As he was passing the moon, he noticed Thanatos flying over, with a big grin on his face. Seconds later, a familiar tug could be felt in the back of his mind, and he allowed Thanatos to finish the connection. "Thanatos, you seem happy. What happened?" Much to Silvan's confusion, Thanatos did a few loop-de-loops. The veil energies flowing around him were a veritable tsunamis of pure veil. The energies flowed over his massive body like gigantic rivers that twisted and flared as he twisted his body or changed the output to control his flight. After his flips, he finished it off with a barrel roll, the energy twisting around him. He sent a burst of energy in front of his body and slowed to a halt before answering.
"I have mastered flight. I feel so free. Now I can fly free and slaughter Azarians as I wish. With this, I will be able to better serve my lord for sure,"
he said, while shadowboxing the void. Watching the planetary warrior happily jump around and play like a kid was a shock for sure, but Silvan couldn't not chuckle at the scene. "Ha, of course. You have all that power and all you can think about is serving our lord. Your devotion is commendable, Thanatos. By the way, when you pull your sword out of our moon, do you think you could realign the orbit?" The planetary warrior cupped his chiseled chin in thought.
I can probably manage that, yes. Before we part ways, brother, where are you heading? And is there anywhere that you would prefer me to assist?
After giving it a moment of thought, Silvan smiled to himself. "I have a feeling that the Phyllis territories will be fine without me. I will assist our lord in retaking the Rosarian Alliance's territory. You would probably be better off assisting in some of the frontier reaches in either Phyllis territory or GC territory. Either way, you are better off being a preventative measure, seeing as you can't very well cleanse a planet's surface of Azarians without cleansing it of everything else." Thanatos raised a quizzical mountain range.
"What do you mean? I can just send the priests housed within my body. They can do the groundwork, while I cut a bitch in orbit, or further."
"Wait, what? You have more people inside of you? It wasn't just the one guy? How many mages could you possibly have?" With a rumbling chuckle, Thanatos said,
"A few hundred that are powerful, and a few thousand that either have little power, or will be using enchanted arms and armor. Do you think that will be enough?"
Silvan's jaw dropped. I am glad you are on our side," he said as he shivered slightly. "There should be more than enough firepower. If need be, I'm sure you could scour a planet of any Azarian scum." With that said, the two gave each other their farewells and parted ways. Silvan focused on his connection to Basilisk and opened a rift into the veil. Morelia had to fight to survive for her whole life as a Kuzthug without wings. Seeing that she wasn't considered a functioning member of society, she was ostracized by most. She couldn't get a job due to most of them seeing her lack of mobility as a liability, thus she grew up on the streets. Being a wingless street rat from childhood meant that she learned how to survive in ways that most of her kind could not. Those survival tactics were her greatest weapon against the enemy known as the Azarians. The Azarians had broken through their navies as if tearing through paper. Then once they made their way to the planet, the Air Force met them in combat. It was like spoon-feeding the massive creatures their dinner. Combustion weapons, lasers, even missiles were essentially ineffective. Fair few of the creatures had died when nukes were used. That's why Morelia took her time, scrounged supplies, healed those that had survived at that point, sent them on their way, and then hid. Morelia sighed to herself as she huddled into the rubble of the collapsed bunker she made a home in. After being alone for so long, she had a tendency to talk to herself, but right now, she didn't want to ruin the silence that surrounded her at that moment. There was nothing. No heavy machinery, no buzzing of wings overhead, no yells as people had near misses. There was simply silence. As she drank in the silence, she heard something. It wasn't distant, but it was quiet enough that, if there had been any sound at all, she might have missed it. The sound wasn't like anything she'd ever heard. It was downright otherworldly. In her curiosity, she peeked out of the rubble. Her gaze immediately caught a massive sword, unlike anything she had ever seen before, as it slowly appeared from nowhere. Little by little, more of the sword was revealed. Green energies caressed the blade, but seemed to lash out at the very air that surrounded it. Then, the blade suddenly made one smooth cutting motion, tearing the veil between dimensions asunder with ease. A massive creature stood before her, with hell at its back.